are getting an interview with Mr. Vishaal Asrani and Jiji. Vishaal Asrani
and Jiji
from
Subi.
VAIPA.
That's right.
So, how are you, both of you?
Doing well, thank you.
Okay. Just tell something about how did you started your theatre?
Well, theatre for me actually was part of my life always, because it was growing up in a school that was so encouraging about theatre. It was Green Lawns, which was very encouraging of all these co-curricular activities, which were then called extracurricular activities. So it was always singing, dancing. So right from the age of about 3 or 4, we were put on stage, made to sing, dance, act. And then I think my parents encouraged me a lot. They had me train in Indian classical music and always encouraged us to do little plays in the building. So we'd meet up together in the evenings after school with the kids and direct a show and put it on. And I think that's where my journey began. And it's never ended. It's going on.
What about you, sir?
Pretty much the same. I think I was always keen on dancing, so I'm a trained Bharatanatyam dancer, so I started learning Bharatanatyam. And I think through college years, through school, it's all been, between elocution competitions and recitations and acting on stage. So the journey continued through college as well, and lots of intercollegiate festivals and stuff. So that's how, like he said, it continues.
Okay. So, since childhood you all wanted to go for theatre.
Yes.
You said you are for a Bharatanatyam dancer
That's
before
right.
that.
Yeah.
So, how did VAIPA started?
Well, VAIPA started, I actually wanted to be a singer as I grew up. So I trained for 15 years in Indian classical music with Purushottam Das Jalota and Anup Jalota. And then somewhere down the line, I think my interest changed and I wanted to do Western music, as most kids do when they become 15 and 16, because Indian music is not cool at that age. So I think that interest changed. I got into radio plays, so I worked on a couple of radio plays for All India Radio, and that's where the interest in acting was peaked. So I did a few exams in Trinity College London and got my certification from there, started teaching. So that's where the journey for teaching began. I taught at Green Lawns Worli, and then over a period of years, I think we've taught at about 35, 40 different schools. And then I met Jiji, who was at that time, which he doesn't say right now, but he was in the Air Force. So we met, fell in love, and decided to work together. And him being a dancer, my strong suit was never dancing, his was. So I did the music, I did the singing, he did the dancing. And he loves teaching. We both really enjoy teaching children. And over the years, I think slowly VAIPA has become more of the shows are taken care of by me, and Jiji does all of the teaching for the kids. So because we do children's theatre, it's the kids that are trained under him that we take into our workshops and then they put on the show.
How about you, Jiji?
Similar way, like he said, I was in the Air Force before, so I quit the Air Force in 2011. But I used to constantly work with Vishaal because I used to travel a lot. So Vishaal would do shows in Delhi, Jaipur, Guwahati. So I would go, I would help him during my leave period. I would help him with that and stuff. So that's how the whole thing started. Got into theatre almost like a full-time thing. Got my Trinity certification as well. After that, it was just, I think, a full-fledged shift into theatre because for us, the biggest thing was since we were working a lot with kids, we saw that there wasn't quality stuff happening for children in Mumbai, and that's when we decided that in our way, what we teach in class, we could probably expand it onto stage and bring the kids and make them do different stuff. So that's how the whole thing started for us.
So when you're talking about kids, so as you do the workshops and everything?
That's right. So we do workshops. So Keval, I think our biggest USP of our show is the fact that we have not just kids, but we have adults and kids working together. So if, for example, we have one of our shows, Snow White, for example. So the lead cast, okay, so you have Snow White, who's basically an adult, but the children play the role of the dwarfs in the show. Then we adapt it in a way that the children and the adult actors all come together and put on the show together. So that, I think, is a big USP of the VAIPA shows.
So basically, as you said, Snow White and Seven Crafts, ABBA, now the Jungle Book. I've seen many musical dramas you all have been creating. What's the reason? What's behind that?
I think basically everybody loves music. So one can't take away from the fact that music can transform your mood from happy to sad, sad to happy. You can fall in love because of music. You can be angry because of music. So I think that music is something that is universal, that touches everybody's soul, be it a child or an older person. Music is even used for therapy. So what we realize is what better way of telling a story than putting music into it, because kids love to watch music, color, dance, all of it. And the more you put it on stage, the more the kids are having a blast, because if anybody who's seen our shows knows that we encourage the kids to get up in the audience, clap, sing, dance along. So I think that's what makes it a day out of not just sitting back and watching something like you would watch on TV, but it becomes interactive. So the kids are being asked questions from stage, they're answering that, they're clapping, they're cheering, they're hooting. I mean, they're asked about what do you think should happen next, and it just makes it a lot more fun.
Funniest thing which has happened in theatre?
I think meeting Jiji was the biggest fun thing for me. The funniest thing, I guess, is there are so many over the years. I mean, I've been doing theatre now for 40 years, and there have been times where people have forgotten lines and jumped to like 5 pages ahead, and you know for a fact that if they don't remember the lines of the 5 pages, the whole play will make no sense. And you try and bring them back, and they again jump, and you again try and bring them back, and they again jump, and it's happened. And luckily we were 2 seasoned senior actors on stage who managed to bring it back on stage. This happened recently with a show called Art that we were doing, Yasmina Reza's Broadway hit. And if we missed that middle chunk, the entire second half wouldn't have made sense. But that's really funny. Costumes have ripped. People have gone on stage with their zipper down. Okay, and me, I've gone on stage with my zipper down. Luckily I had a black lawyer's gown on top and nobody made out. But yeah, these are ridiculously funny things, but I think that's what makes theatre exciting. There is no second take. There is no second chance. You get on there and you do what you have to do. You feed off the audience, and it's just beautiful.
Okay, so how difficult is to direct the play? Because there is a difference between theatre and cinemas. In cinemas, obviously you can retake. There is no retake in theatre. So how difficult is for you?
I wouldn't say, see what happens is, direction I wouldn't say per se is a difficult thing, because you have a certain vision and you're trying to translate that vision from what you've done on paper, it goes on to stage. Okay, so that's not the thing, but I think it's very dynamic, because what happens is, as you're directing, you suddenly realize, no, this is not how I want it, so you change certain things, okay, and you go with the flow. I think that as a director, though you have a very clear perspective when you start the thing, but the end product kind of changes here and there, and you have to navigate the whole thing through. So I think that is what is challenging about being a director of a show. So I think that is the most challenging thing which I face.
And to add to what Jiji says is, I truly believe that a director of a show needs to be the captain of the ship. So a director cannot turn around and say, I don't know what I want for the choreography. So we make our mood boards, our songs are there, it's literally line by line. I mean, if Jiji's choreographing, I will sit down with him and we will look at the lines, see what we want to do with it. Line by line, we will choreograph stuff and make sure that everything works in tandem. Whether it's costumes, it can't be that I hire somebody to do my costumes and leave it to them. So you have to be in charge right from script to stage, which is a massive journey. So there are no teams in place. It's, I think both of us are the team, because we do our costumes ourselves. I mean, as you walked in earlier, you saw us working on the LED backdrops for our next show. So we try and do that because maybe we're a bit of control freaks, but I think that's what keeps the quality up there.
So how much time it takes to get out to the place? So suppose you have decided that you will direct a show. So how much time it takes to come out?
On an average, I say about 3 to 4 months, depending on whether you are getting a ready script and music. Because like for Madagascar, it took us about 3.5 months when we did it last, because we got in touch with MTI and DreamWorks. So they gave us a ready script and they gave us the music. So the songs were already ready, everything was ready, so it took us about 3.5-4 months. However, Jungle Book, because we wrote our own music, wrote the lyrics, wrote the entire script and everything, it took about 6 months. So the journey is 2 months prior to before even starting rehearsal. You have to start with your scripting. I mean, maybe it's a little quicker for us because we've been doing this for so long, but putting on a play is not simple. It doesn't happen like in 15-20 days. At least not the kind of productions we're looking at with massive large-scale sets with moving LED walls, all of that. Yeah.
And how about the characters you take? It depends on the play name, it depends on the genre, or it depends on the...
So, see, we also like to adapt scripts, okay, since we earlier did speak about Snow White, okay, for instance. So, with our shows, what we do is we adapt it to do it in such a way that we have characters that make sense. So, if you see the story of Snow White is not just all about just Snow White and the dwarfs and the evil queen and that's it, because that's what the main story is about. We have added a totally different angle with introducing an enchanted forest. So there is a magical forest with fairies in the forest. The fairies are the one who guides Snow White through and through. Then we have King Oberon who becomes a magical mirror. So we've kind of broken it down because I think that's very important for kids to understand what the whole logic behind the thing is. So we like a backstory. So we create a backstory. And Snow White is not just about the magical mirror talking, but who is the magical mirror? Who went into the mirror? Why does the mirror talk? So we've kind of explained all that. So every script is different. So if we have the creative freedom to kind of add a backstory, we like to do that. But with a show like Madagascar, which came in with a ready script and we had to follow it to the T. So we did not do any backstory or did not adapt it in any way. So it depends from script to script.
No, also I think because we're teachers, it's very important for us that when children come to watch the shows, they go home with a takeaway. They go home learning life lessons, not just simple things about being nice, because that's being taught in school. We try to indirectly, subliminally affect their minds in a beautiful way, where we show them tolerance, acceptance of gender, acceptance of color. Because in a world that we live like today, where we still have dowry deaths because of the color of a girl's skin, we've taken our Snow White is not fair. She's dark. She's beautifully dusky, and that's what we try to teach the kids. That listen, beauty is not skin deep. It is beyond that, and hopefully, in a small way, even if a few, incidents don't happen in the future where there aren't any dowry deaths or torture, I think that will make a huge difference. That is what theatre is about. It's change through art, and that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, so just share something about the Jungle Book.
Well, the Jungle Book is, I think, an eternal favorite of everybody's. We all grew up with all those wonderful characters, Mowgli and
Yes.
Hup 2, 3, 4 and the elephants.
Yes.
And we learnt it in school. It was part of our literature syllabus as we grew up. And for years we were thinking of doing the Jungle Book. And I think we wanted to do it a few years ago, and then Disney came out with the live action movie. So we said maybe this is not the right time. Let people enjoy the Disney version, and then we'll come up with a newer version. And since Rudyard Kipling's works fall into the public domain, it was easy to just write our own script around it, create the characters. We've tried to give it an Indian feel without making it very folk in its feel. We've used fusion music. The whole play is in English. We've written our own songs. We've got a fantastic 11-year-old boy playing Mowgli, who's sung his own songs. So that's it. And Jiji, anything you want to add?
And I think, compared to all the other shows that we at VAIPA we have done, I think one thing which is radically different about the Jungle Book is the fact that after a long time since we did the Ramayana, after a long time we did a story that was based in India. Otherwise, all of our stories were usually the ones for kids especially, were either fantasy and stuff like that. So this was really nice, like going back to the roots and doing an Indian story, but at the same time, like he said, like not make it totally folktale-ish, but we have also given it a very contemporary, modern look and feel to the whole thing, with be it the designs, be it the costume designs, be it the LED screen on stage, the
language.
lighting, the language, yes. So we've given it the yuppiness, we've given it the kind of modernization that it needs, but at the same time kept the essence of the story like totally alive.
So apart from this, have you seen some other plays in different languages also?
In different languages, in the sense, whenever we travel abroad, which we try to do every summer, we either travel to New York or London. we go to watch most of the Broadway shows. It doesn't matter whether they're kids shows, right from Mary Poppins to Lion King to Matilda.
The puppet show.
The puppet shows that we watch over there, because as teachers I think it's very important to learn that you learn every day. So through different experiences that we've experienced in theatre, whether it was even in Spain, we watched the flamenco theatre, we've watched Banraku puppetry, we watched fabulous different kinds of medium that people use to tell stories. I think it's just phenomenal what we learn every time we watch a new production, because there's something and you say, oh my god, why didn't I think of that? And that's the reason you learn every single day from every new production that you watch.
Best play up till now for you, both of you.
Performance wise, direction wise, I think it's always the last play. So right now, if you ask me, it's Jungle Book. 3 months later, you'll ask me, I'll say Little Mermaid, because that's what my heart will be in. But I think visually, I think both of us have loved the Little Mermaid the most. Both of us.
Yes.
And in
But-
the other, sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just saying it's kind of difficult to
Yeah.
say that, because what happens is, like I said, every new production is a challenge. Every new production is like a new baby, and you're asking us to choose
Yeah.
between a baby.
I mean,
which is very
if I have
difficult.
3 daughters and 2 sons, how can I choose a favorite?
Choose a favorite, yeah, it's exactly that.
So,
But yeah, I think I'll go with that. I mean, Little Mermaid visually was a stunning show. Like the effects are fantastic, and he was just mentioning about the adult show. So
I think Night on Broadway.
A Night on Broadway would be my personal favorite, because I generally, what happens is, I handle backstage, and when we kind of put up the Night on Broadway, it was just 2 singers on stage, which was Vishaal and Sarosh, and with the 2 singers, they had costume changes in every single song, which was handled by me. So it was like Vishaal would go on, come, his costume changes happening, and there are just about 40 seconds in between the songs. So, right from Phantom of the Opera to suddenly jumping on to do like a piece from Les Miserables to suddenly doing a piece from Cabaret, then from Cabaret going on to something else. It was just a switch, and it was like a very challenging thing to do that. So I think, Night on Broadway would.
So that was the most difficult thing, changes of costumes within a fraction of a second.
Yes, it is. It's quite chaotic, because I think both of us are very particular about what we put on stage. So not a zip, not a hair has to be out of place. You cannot have things not correctly. So it's literally standing there, and there are 3 people dressing you to get on stage for the next one. And we're talking of being in a churidar kurta and doing one song, and in 40 seconds changing into a complete tuxedo with a mask, with that, with gloves, with shoes changed. So it's just a question of, because when we watched shows abroad, we were like, if they can do it, why can't we? So it took a long while to figure out what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do, because I think our biggest challenge, costume-wise, ever was the Cinderella costume. Because if you watch the play, you see Cinderella, she's dressed in her rags, and the fairy godmother and father just wave their wand. She turns around twice, and in front of the audience, the dress just collapses and she becomes a princess on stage, including a tiara coming up and all of it. So it took us, I think, about 3.5 months to develop that dress, with meters and meters of elastic and Velcro to making sure we're all cotton
and fabrics going wasted, because something doesn't work, something is ripping and stuff like that. But eventually it happened.
Yeah, it was absolutely worth it, because every single time she was on stage, there was a roar from the audience, because she transformed into a princess in front of your eyes. And every girl in the audience would come back and say, "Uncle, can you make that dress for me?" And I said, "Darling, I'd love to, but I can't."
Okay, so I have seen that most of your plays I have been witnessed is showing sold out. What's the secret behind that now?
Dedication, hard work, reputation building, and quality. Great quality, because a lot of people, I'm going to say this very candidly, think that because it's children's theatre, it doesn't have to be great quality. Unfortunately, children are the biggest critics in the world. They will say to your face, "I didn't like this, I hated it, I didn't like the voice, that dance was horrible." So, for children, the quality has to be even more, it has to be better than what we would put on for an adult. They want visual representation, so you need to have a quality control team in place. You need to have your set looking a particular way, the costumes have to look beautiful. So I think it's just hard work, because when we say 3 months of work, we're talking about 3 months of work from 8 o'clock in the morning till say 2 o'clock at night every day.
Oh.
So that's the kind of work that goes into put on one of the VAIPA productions. And we've seen a lot of theatre here in India, and honestly, somewhere I just feel that just being interested in theatre and trying to put on a play for kids, say, children's show hai na, chal jayega. It doesn't, because today the world has become such a small place. Kids are traveling abroad all the time with their parents. They're going to Singapore, Bangkok, Thailand, all over. Even Southeast Asia has got so much theatre happening that kids expect that certain quality when they're watching a show here. Because the last thing you want is having kids come in and say, oh, Mom, I don't want to go for the next show because this was not beautiful. I want to watch what we watched in Disney over there. So in our own way, we try to keep that level and that quality high so that you get repeat audiences.
What differences you have seen in the audience 2019 up till now, pre and post pandemic?
See, I think what has happened is, I mean, post the pandemic for us also, I think the audience, it's of course, it's improved, okay, for us, it's not dwindled at all. So even before Touchwood and thank God, we used to have full houses and stuff like that. But what I've seen is, I think the whole pandemic where they were stuck at home, okay, without any avenue for doing anything outside of their house, okay, and luckily for us, even during the pandemic, we did a lot of workshops with the children online, which were right from a Broadway workshop to a Fables workshop to a storytelling workshop to a Harry Potter workshop. So the kids were, we were constantly there with the kids through and through. So I think what has happened is parents could also see, because we had people coming in from all over, like all over India, because it was online. So there was no thing of one from Nagpur could do it at the same time. There was a child from Delhi, two from Guwahati, and all of that was happening. So I think what has happened is people have seen, so we've been active through the whole lockdown. So I think somehow that has worked for us in our favor, because when we came back, I remember it was the month of March 2020 when we shut down. At the Opera House was our last show.
Yeah.
We did Jack and the Beanstalk, okay, and we were rehearsing for our next show of Jack and the Beanstalk, and that's when the whole lockdown was announced, and we had to shut down. And after that, in December 2021, we were the first theatre group again to open at the Opera House with our...
In all of India, actually.
In all of India, actually, yeah. With our new show, which was Those Were the Days, with COVID protocols, with only, one in every 3 seats being sold.
Yeah.
Okay, that. And we opened it because we were just like, okay, listen, take the leap of faith, this thing. And with the whole COVID thing, that time we had a full house show. And I mean, all we can say is we are grateful and thankful that the trend has continued, and we are still continuing with churning out show after show, which is, and like Vishaal rightly said, I think a lot cable has to do with the quality of the production. The fact that, listen, you can't go lax after doing one great show. You can't be like, oh, listen, my Madagascar was amazing. Jungle Book can be okay. No, Jungle Book has to be even better than Madagascar. Okay, ABBA, every single time we put on the ABBA show will look exactly the same quality or better, but never once will the show come down. In fact, recently we had a 4-year-old who flew in from Delhi to watch the ABBA show.
Ooh.
Okay, because he's a huge ABBA fan, and he came up on stage and sang with the singers. So that is a kind of love and response that you get. So I feel the audience has definitely improved post-COVID.
And what is theatre for you both?
Life.
Yeah, it truly is life, love, and we always say that life would be so boring. What's life without a little bit of drama?
And I think theatre has also given us a kind of an extended family.
Yeah.
Like, the people we have met in theatre, the kind of bonds we have formed, whether it is, whether it's our co-directors, okay, whether it is the kids who assist us now, because these are kids who have grown up in front of us, and now how they work towards making the show happen and how they take on the responsibility, that's amazing. So it's like having a little family of your own, and it's like become a family unit. And every show that we put up, I think, Keval, that is a big thing for us, because it's like it's one family putting on, it's our show. It's not like, oh, we just want to put on a show for the sake of putting on a show. And I think that is what theatre for us is. So it is actually life.
Yeah, and also I think what has happened over the years, because Jiji and I both grew up being misjudged all the time, being pointed at, called names, we've made VAIPA into a safe space for people. So as kids come here, whether it's kids to adults, once they start working with us, they realize that they're never judged for who they are, where they come from, what size they are, what color their complexion is. So everyone is beautiful, and that's the end of it. Like, we celebrate the differences, the uniqueness that makes us all beautiful. And I think that's what theatre has given us, celebration of our diversity. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know what to do without theatre.
And what up next after the Jungle Book?
So we're working on this massive international project. I'm not at liberty to tell you the name yet, but it'll be out in, I guess, another 15-20 days. You'll see it in the papers and on the hoardings, which is touring all over the country. We're also planning to revive The Little Mermaid because it hasn't been done for about 7 years. So that's a great spectacle that we're planning to open in February next year. And yeah, that's as of now.
Yeah, as of now.
So in that case, definitely VAIPA is running really very well.
That's true.
Definitely. So, and all the best to your team. And that closures for the interview. Thank you. Anything you would like to say about it?
Well, just live your life. There is only one. Have fun. Be yourself. Don't judge, and don't let anybody just break who you are. Love yourself for who you are.
So, and that's, yeah, you can say something.
No, just ditto. That's it.
Okay, so thank you very much. Yeah, this was Keval from Mumbai Theatre Guide. Thanks, Mr. Vishaal. Thanks, Mr. Jiji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.